So it looks like the relationship between White House Chief of Staff John Kelly and President Trump is deteriorating. Now, this is according to a new report from Gabriel Sherman, right? Writing for Vanity Fair. Now, he cited two prominent Republicans in frequent contact with the White House and reported that Trump is starting to really get annoyed with John Kelly in the way that he basically portrays himself as the adult in the room. Now, if there's anything that Donald Trump can't stand, is somebody else being portrayed as the adult in the room and him as being managed by someone else. Now, he actually believes that that undercuts him, right? So he believes that John Kelly has undercut him. Now, there's a recent example of where John Kelly, during an interview, said that, well, Trump was uninformed when it came to the wall. Now, that's something that both John Kelly and Donald Trump agree in. They both want the wall. They're both very big hardliners on immigration. But when he said that Trump is, again, uninformed when it comes to the wall on experts, he came out with a bunch of blistering tweets. It's like, the wall's the wall. The wall's the wall. I knew it. I knew everything about the wall. I came up with it. It was my fantastic idea. So basically he did that in a way to push back against that idea that he was uninformed about this issue, which he absolutely is, because, again, he believes that it's just supposed to be one giant continuous wall, which is, again, not workable when it comes to the southern border. There are rivers, and he just found out about this. It's like raging, vicious rivers, big mountains. I knew that the whole time. No, you didn't, you jackass. You didn't know anything about that. It's amazing, right? But anyway, so Donald Trump feels undercut, right? But despite that, Kelly, according to these Republicans, isn't quite leaving yet. Again, he feels this duty to the country, according to these Republicans, and not to Trump, to watch over him, make sure he doesn't do something stupid. And apparently also he has this personal goal to outlast Reince Priebus. And also, since he still agrees with the administration and what they're actually doing, he doesn't want to make bad press and say that they have a high turnover rate. So that's interesting. Now, Priebus, of course, resigned from his position about 6 months into the administration. The next day, John Kelly was announced as his replacement. Interesting. Now, look, their relationship, they started out with mutual respect because they agree on so much, but since then, it's gotten bad. Things have went downhill. Previously, it was reported that Kelly often threatened to quit his position if Trump and others didn't listen to him. So that was him using his leverage. Again, since Donald Trump had a respect for him, because he's such a strong character, such a strong personality, he's like, oh man, I don't want John Kelly to leave. It's order, right? He's a strong character. I like being around this strong guy. He's a great guy. So that was his leverage. Apparently he doesn't use that very much anymore. Now, the other thing that, of course, Kelly and Trump agreed with, is, as I mentioned before, was immigration. And actually, Kelly was against doing an immigration deal with the Democrats that included DACA. Now, in the end, it didn't really matter all that much because the Democrats folded like a cheap suit. But nonetheless, that is one of the people, along with Stephen Miller, that were making it pretty impossible for the Democrats and Republicans to actually come together to do something about both immigration and the Dreamers. So, despite those similarities and despite that mutual respect, well, basically, their relationship is now being overshadowed by Donald Trump's ego. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, I mentioned it earlier. He can't stand to be overshadowed by someone else. He can't stand the illusion of being managed. That's why earlier it was called Bannon territory. Now, the media reported on that same perception, with Steve Bannon being the guy that's in charge, managing Trump and pulling the strings behind the scenes. And again, he doesn't like that. What did Trump do? Trump got rid of him. So now Kelly has a similar perception, and that's not a good thing. In fact, according to Vanity Fair, Kelly's role as taskmaster appears to have undermined his standing with the president. The more Kelly plays up that he's being the adult in the room, that it's basically combat duty and that he's serving the country, that kind of thing drives Trump nuts. Vanity Fair reported, citing a Republican close to the White House. According to other Republicans, that's exactly his reaction. He said to a friend, according to a Republican familiar with this conversation, quote, "I've got another nut job here who thinks he's running things." So understand that. He's referring to John Kelly. That nut job. Thinks he's running the White House. Thinks he's the adult in the room, that I'm uninformed. I'm not uninformed. I'm the most important person that you will ever meet. I'm more informed than anybody here. Here it comes. Here it comes. So, look, earlier I said Bannon territory, right? And it actually might be worse. Now, one of the sources added that Kelly isn't just in Bannon territory, but he is now approaching Attorney General Jeff Sessions territory. A man whom Trump has reportedly said he's angrier with than special counsel Robert Mueller. Wow. This could be like Sessions, the source told the magazine. A reference to Trump's frustration that he can't fire his attorney general. Because that would be very, very bad. So, oh boy. Now, you guys remember, for a while, Donald Trump was actually bullying his, Sessions into resigning, into quitting. Yeah. Since he couldn't fire him. Well, but I'm sure he's trying to figure out ways to be able to fire him and to fire Robert Mueller and to fire everybody else. So, not a good sign. So now, there's one more component to this story, which I think is fun. Sherman, writing for Vanity Fair, also said that Ivanka Trump is now looking for Kelly's replacement. According to Raw Story, Ivanka is the most worried about it. She's trying to figure out who replaces Kelly. Someone who has spoken with the president's daughter told Sherman. Now, here's the thing, right? So who does replace Kelly if he leaves? Number one, who's going to be dumb enough to take the job? I mean, look, you have to have, it's pretty obvious you have to have somebody who won't overshadow the president. Now, for a while, John Kelly was actually doing a pretty good job of that. But then, apparently, he goes in the talk shows and he says certain things, and oh, look at that. Now he's overshadowing the president. Now he's getting more press. And more importantly, he's getting the perception that he's a manager. So you can't do that if you're in Trump world. You can't make it seem like you are in control of him, that you are keeping him from his worst impulses. Even if that's exactly what you're doing, the perception alone is going to get you removed, right? So his chief of staff is likely got to be somebody, again, who can be low-key, but who will also lie for him and also agree with him on many issues. It's a tough order. Hey, everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.